He said I wasn't pulling my weight after 6 years of paying every bill he ever had. Now he's living in a Toyota Camry with no AC while I sip cold brew in the house he thought was his. I've been with Josh for 6 years. 6 long, exhausting years of thinking we were building something together. Turns out, I was just building while he stood on the sidelines making vision boards. Josh always had a dream. Scratch that, Josh always had another dream. In the time we were together, I watched him try and fail at becoming a Twitch streamer. He played Call of Duty 6 hours a day with no mic. A sneaker reseller, he bought 4 pairs and sold none. A startup advisor, he didn't start or advise anything. A self-published author, he wrote 1 paragraph and posted it on Reddit for karma. Through it all, guess who covered everything? Rent, me. Groceries, me. His car insurance, me. Wi-Fi, water, heat, even his Spotify subscription, me. I worked full-time at a hospital, picked up night shifts, and even freelanced online just to keep us above water. He said he needed space to grow, and I thought I was helping him do that. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, Josh started acting off. Checking his phone more. Getting annoyed at random things. He suddenly cared about how I left my socks near the bed or that the fridge wasn't aesthetically organized. Weirdly, he started leaving little passive-aggressive notes. One said, "Dishes don't do themselves, face blowing a kiss." At first, I brushed it off. Josh always got moody before he started a new project, so I figured another phase was coming. But then he hit me with something I couldn't even process at first. I got home from an 11-hour shift and found him sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and this weirdly serious look. I honestly thought he was about to tell me his mom was sick or something. Instead, he said, "I think we should break up. I just don't think you do enough around here." I literally laughed. Like, full-on laughed. I thought he was joking. But he just blinked at me. No smile. Nothing. Just this smug little head tilt like he'd delivered the final word. I asked him to repeat that, because surely he didn't just say I don't do enough. And yep, he doubled down. Said I don't clean up after myself, that he feels like he's doing all the emotional labor, and that it's exhausting being the only one who notices when things need to be done. Let me paint the picture for you. I'm on my feet 10+ hours a day, dealing with patients, running between departments, barely eating. He's home, researching, scrolling Reddit and playing Apex. Sometimes I leave a coffee mug out. Sometimes I fall asleep with laundry in the dryer. But this man who hasn't earned a taxable dollar in 2 years, really told me I'm the one slacking. And get this, after that whole performance, he started walking around the house like he owned it. He mentioned I should probably look into moving in with my sister again to make the transition easier. Then, he started referring to the guest room as his new office. Told me he might finally adopt a husky now that there won't be anyone nagging him about fur on the couch. That's when I realized, Josh had absolutely no idea whose house this was. This place? The one he's been living in rent-free for almost 6 years? I inherited it from my dad's side when my grandma passed. My name is the only one on the deed. I pay the property taxes. I handled every repair. I paid to get the plumbing fixed when he flushed vape coils down the toilet by accident. Josh never even contributed to toilet paper. He really thought he could dump me, claim I wasn't helping enough, and then stay in my house? Nah. After Josh's whole "we need to break up because you leave dishes in the sink" performance, I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just went upstairs, shut the bedroom door, locked it, and sat on the floor. Not to cry. Not even to think. I was too tired for that. I just needed quiet, 5 minutes of silence before I started planning how to legally and emotionally wreck this man's whole life. See, Josh had no clue that every utility, every repair invoice, every tax document, and the actual mortgage was in my name. I didn't need to throw him out, I just needed to let him dig his own grave. So I let him believe the fantasy. The next morning, I went to work like nothing happened. I even made coffee and poured him a cup like I always did. He said, thanks, like I was the live-in help. That same day, I started a Google Doc labeled Operation Eviction. Josh, meanwhile, was thriving in his make-believe world. He started taking up the entire living room, moved my reading chair into the garage without asking, saying it threw off the feng shui. He spent hours rearranging the furniture like he was some kind of HGTV host. He even started playing his playlist over the Bluetooth speaker all day. Loud. Like bass thumping, obnoxious EDM, while I was trying to work from home. He acted like this breakup had freed him. He left pizza boxes out on the table, his laundry on the stairs, his energy drinks stacked on the bathroom counter like some kind of frat house pyramid. And every time I rolled my eyes or sighed, he'd smirk and say, "You're free now. You don't have to nag anymore." Yeah. I was free. Free to evict his ass, legally. 3 days after the breakup, he told me he'd invited his friends over for a guys' night. Didn't ask. Told me. I was already making arrangements for the locksmith. He hosted 3 loud, obnoxious guys who brought cheap beer, loud jokes, and left their empty cans in the sink. One of them used my fancy face towels to clean up a spill. Another one spilled nacho cheese on the couch I bought. I didn't say a word. Just documented everything in the doc. I even took pictures. He had no idea I was laying the foundation. No clue I'd already spoken to a lawyer about tenants' rights and eviction notices. And because we weren't married and he'd never paid a single cent toward the mortgage, he had no claim. The next morning, I was sitting in the kitchen, pretending not to exist in my own kitchen while Josh walked around like he was hosting an open house. I was pouring coffee when he looked at me, didn't say good morning, didn't ask how I slept, just mumbled something like, "Can you, respect my space?" His space. In my house. Sure, Josh. I just nodded, real calm, thinking, let's see what kind of friend this is. Doorbell rings. I go to open it. Standing there is a woman in a bright yellow jacket, bottle of wine in her hand, huge smile like she's about to meet the in-laws. She goes, "Hi. You must be the roommate." I blinked. Something like that. Her name was Tara. Pretty, bubbly, polite. Nothing against her. But I could tell in 5 seconds this wasn't just a friend from work. She looked at Josh like he was Ryan Gosling in The Notebook. And he acted like she was already living there. He didn't even introduce us properly. Just kissed her on the cheek and walked her through the house, narrating like he was giving a tour of a beach rental in Malibu. This is the living room. I'm thinking of getting a sectional, maybe leather, something minimal. This kitchen's great for entertaining. I make a mean stir-fry. And this, he opened the guest room door, is my office. Where I get most of my work done. Work. This man's idea of productivity is rearranging his Xbox games alphabetically. That office is where he watches conspiracy theory videos at 2 a.m. and complains about shadow-banned accounts. Tara was soaking it all up. I could practically see her picturing a life here, wine nights, couples brunches, maybe even a golden retriever. She looked around with that dreamy face, like she'd just stepped into her Pinterest board. And I was standing 10 feet away gripping my coffee mug like it was a stress ball. So yeah, I had a choice. A. Flip out, blow up the whole night, start yelling like a Real Housewives scene. B. Sit back, smile, and watch the idiot bury himself. I chose B. That night, he cooked dinner, microwaved Trader Joe's pasta, and told Tara he designed the lighting layout in the house himself. Spoiler, I bought a floor lamp. That's it. He looked smug. Like he'd pulled off the greatest breakup of all time. Like he was doing me a favor. The next morning, I woke up before him. He was still snoring on my bed with his mouth open like a toddler. I walked out, called a locksmith, and made an appointment. By 11 a.m., a guy named Darren was at the door with tools, new locks, and 0 questions. In under an hour, all 4 exterior locks were changed. I paid him, gave him a cold bottle of water, and sat on the couch sipping tea. Josh finally shuffled into the kitchen around noon, shirtless, scratching his head like some confused sitcom character. "Did you change something?" he asked. I took a sip. "Yeah. The locks." He squinted. "What?" I said it slow. "The locks. You're not on the deed. You're not on the lease. And legally? You don't live here." He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. I didn't move. I didn't yell. I didn't even smile. I just let the silence fill the room. He blinked a few times. Then he reached for his phone, probably to call one of his buddies to back him up. But there was nothing to say. No argument to make. I gave him 15 minutes to grab his things. Just the essentials. I'd already packed up a duffel bag for him the night before, 3 t-shirts, his laptop, his toiletries, and the stupid lava lamp he wouldn't shut up about. The rest? I put in storage. On my dime. I'm not heartless. At that moment, Josh changed dramatically. He was suddenly polite, soft-spoken, offering to talk things through. But I was done. The delusion had cracked. Reality hit, and it hit hard. He tried everything. Claimed he didn't realize how much I did. Said he just needed time. Said maybe we could be roommates until he got back on his feet. I had the locks changed. "You'll need to be out by the end of the day." He blinked. "Wait, why?" "I changed the locks. You don't live here anymore." His face is pale. Like, actually pale. Mouth opened, then shut, then opened again. You can't do that." I finally looked at him. "Josh. This is my house. You're not even listed on the water bill. And now, you're not welcome." First came denial. He scoffed. "You're being dramatic. We can talk this through." Then bargaining. "I thought you loved me. I thought this was our future. You're really gonna just throw it all away like this?" And then guilt-tripping. "So what, you're just gonna leave me on the street? After everything we've been through?" I crossed my arms. "After everything I paid for?" "Yes." About an hour later, Tara showed up, the wine girl. She rang the doorbell with her purse over her shoulder and this big hopeful smile, probably expecting another takeout night and more fake stories about Josh's imaginary firm. Instead, she walked in on him packing up garbage bags full of his stuff while I stood in the hallway sipping iced coffee. She looked from me to him. "Wait, why are you packing?" Josh didn't answer. She turned to me. "This isn't his place?" I smiled. "Nope. Never was." Her face changed. Like someone had just popped her dream bubble with a thumbtack. "You said you were buying this place." Josh didn't even try to explain. He just muttered something about miscommunication while stuffing his $400 gaming headset into his backpack. By 6 p.m., they were both gone. I poured myself a glass of wine, turned on the same TV Josh swore was too small, and curled up on the couch he wanted to replace with something more masculine. And for the first time in months, I wasn't anxious, tired, or playing therapist to a grown child. I was just relieved. Honestly, it scared me how close I'd come to losing everything, just because I kept trying to help someone who never wanted to help himself. But I'd learned my lesson. Too generous with my time? Never again. Too patient with people who offer nothing in return? Nope. Too forgiving of a man who thinks he's owed a castle because he once bought groceries in 2019? Never. Again. A few days after the whole goodbye and good riddance moment with Josh, I was starting to breathe like a real human again. I'd cleaned the place, lit my eucalyptus candle, and even started reorganizing the closet, just because I could. Then Caleb called. You remember Caleb, Josh's college friend who somehow thought of himself as Switzerland during all this. Neutral, detached, just checking in. But this time, he sounded like he had something specific to say. I talked to Josh the other day, he said. He's not doing great. I was silent. Caleb cleared his throat. He, said he put a lot into making that house a home. I laughed so hard I actually had to put him on speakerphone. What exactly did he put into it? Dirty socks on the floor? An expired gym membership on the fridge? Caleb laughed awkwardly. I mean, yeah, I know, but he's really out here telling people he built that place up from scratch. Said he was the one holding things together while you were unstable. That stopped me. Unstable? Yeah. Said you had control issues. That he stayed because he cared, but you were too aggressive. Controlling. Financially weird. I swear I could feel my heart beating in my ears. Not from anger, from sheer disbelief. You mean to tell me, I said, that this man, who couldn't manage to pay for Netflix, who once asked me to Venmo him $6 for gas, is now out here calling me unstable? Caleb hesitated, then sighed. He said the breakup was a long time coming. Told people he was finally free. He even told my girlfriend that he was planning a housewarming party. I blinked. A what? Yeah, Caleb muttered. Apparently before you guys even split, he told people he was taking over the house and was gonna start fresh. Said you'd probably just go quietly. If not, he'd figure something out. I was stunned. Like, literally speechless. Josh, sweet, broke, delusional Josh, had been throwing himself a pre-breakup victory lap. Bragging to mutuals that he was about to step into his power and launch a new chapter. And I guess that new chapter was titled, Freeloader Fantasy, the man who thought rent was a suggestion. But it didn't stop there. Caleb added, he told some folks you barely paid for anything. That he was actually the one keeping the place running. Said he handled most of the bills. At that point I almost choked on my own spit. This man didn't even know how much the mortgage was. Once, when I asked him to set up autopay for the water bill while I was on a trip, he asked me where to buy stamps. He thought you pay bills with stamps. I thanked Caleb, hung up, and stared at the ceiling for a while. A part of me wanted to be done. He was out of my house, out of my life. That should have been enough. I could have let it go. But then I remembered. All the small humiliations. The manipulation. The I'll contribute next month promises that never came. The way he told his mom I was too masculine. The years of emotional labor he dumped on me like it was free. And now? He was rewriting history. Telling people I was the problem. No. Absolutely not. So I did what any rational woman would do, I got organized. First, I wrote a message. Polite. Measured. Direct. I sent it to our group chat, the one with our shared friends, the ones who'd heard both sides and didn't know what to believe. It went like this. Hey everyone, just to clarify a few things, the house is legally and solely mine. Josh has never contributed to the mortgage, bills, or taxes. Any claims that he held us together are false. I covered everything for 6 years: rent, utilities, repairs, groceries, and even his streaming services. We are not amicably splitting. He was asked to leave for a reason. That's all. Wishing you all a good week. I didn't get many replies. Just a few quiet thanks for clearing that up. But I knew people read it. I could feel the ripple go through the group. And for the first time in weeks, I slept like a damn baby. After I sent that group message to our mutuals, I decided I wasn't done. Not yet. I didn't scream. I didn't name-call. But I did come with receipts. I followed up with a quiet, factual thread, nothing dramatic, no all caps, just screenshots. Screenshots of electric bills, internet statements, Venmo transactions, and a nice clean scan of the deed to the house. My name. Only mine. No Josh anywhere in sight. I even pulled up an old spreadsheet I'd made for budgeting back when I thought we were a team. It listed every single monthly expense, with my name next to all of them. I didn't include commentary. Just let the facts speak. And speak they did. My inbox started lighting up within an hour. Friends who'd been radio silent now messaged me with, "Wait. I had no idea, and he told me you were just staying there until you found a sublet." One guy, Trevor, who used to hang out at our place for game nights, apologized and admitted Josh told everyone he was the one covering the mortgage. I wanted to scream. But I just wrote, "Thanks for being honest." And left it at that. Then, I did something I'd been meaning to do for a while. I cleared out the crap he left behind. I reached out to a local nonprofit that helped young adults furnish apartments after foster care. They were thrilled when I offered to donate gently used furniture. Within 2 days, I had 3 volunteers show up with a truck. Out went Josh's old gaming desk, which was really just an IKEA table with stickers on it. Out went the weird faux leather couch he insisted on bringing when he moved in, even though it didn't match anything and smelled like Red Bull. And yes, out went the sacred gaming chair he left in his rush. Goodbye, throne of mediocrity. They took it all, and I stood in the driveway watching them load it, feeling lighter by the second. And then I made one more call. To his parents. I debated it for a while. They'd always been kind to me. His mom would send Christmas cards. His dad once helped fix a broken door lock when Josh didn't know how to hold a screwdriver properly. I didn't want revenge, but I also couldn't stomach the thought that they were out there believing their son's pity party version of the story. So I called. His mom picked up. I kept it short. "I just wanted you to hear from me, not secondhand," I said. "Josh has been telling people a lot of things that aren't true." I didn't list every detail, just enough to make it clear he hadn't been supporting me while I spiraled. That he'd contributed nothing. That I'd finally reached my breaking point after years of emotional and financial burnout. She was silent at first. Then she whispered, "I had no idea." I could tell she meant it. She apologized. Profusely. Said she felt ashamed. Said Josh had made it sound like I left him high and dry after mooching off his success. Success. Josh once asked her to buy him an iPad for business reasons. I guess business meant editing reaction videos he never posted anywhere. His mom even offered to reimburse me for some of the expenses he racked up. I told her no, sincerely. I didn't want money. I just wanted the truth to exist somewhere outside my own head. Then came the inevitable. Josh found out. He called. I didn't pick up. He called again. Then again. And finally, he left a voicemail that started with, "What the hell is your problem?" and spiraled into a 6-minute tantrum about how I'd ruined his reputation, turned people against him, and violated his privacy. I texted him 2 words, correcting misinformation. Then I blocked him. On everything. A few weeks later, I was waiting in line at my favorite coffee place when I saw her, Tara. She was in front of me, ordering a chai latte, fidgeting with her sleeves. When she turned and spotted me, her whole face froze. I gave her a nod. Nothing aggressive. Just polite acknowledgement. She hesitated, then stepped aside as I picked up my order. "Hey," she said quietly. "Can I talk to you for a second?" I raised an eyebrow but nodded. She looked nervous. "I just wanted to say I'm really sorry." I didn't know what was going on. He made it sound like you were difficult. Controlling. I let her finish. I didn't interrupt. But I figured it out, she added. Pretty quick, honestly. I nodded. You don't owe me anything. But thanks for saying that. She smiled, small and embarrassed. I dumped him, by the way. Like, a week after everything. I smirked. Good call. Then I walked out with my coffee. Lighter. Stronger. Clear. A week or so after the coffee shop run-in with Tara, I honestly thought I was finally in the clear. The house felt quiet, not in a lonely way, but in that peaceful, no-man-child screaming over Fortnite kind of way. I started sleeping better. I started singing while I cleaned. I even started planning a solo trip, just to remind myself what it felt like to want something again. Then Tara texted me. Hey, just wanted to say again I'm sorry for everything. I found out even more after we talked. We grabbed a coffee again, neutral ground. She looked a little shaky, the kind of look someone gets after realizing they've been played. He lied to me about everything, she said. About the house, about you, about where his money went. I just nodded. Yeah. That sounds about right. She looked up, then added something I wasn't expecting. He told me the house was some kind of mutual deal. Like, you both signed on together. I snorted into my cup. But then she said something that actually made me laugh so hard I nearly dropped my drink. Josh is living in his car. Apparently, once everyone found out the truth, and yes, it did get around, nobody wanted to take him in. Not his friends. Not even his old college roommate who once shared a bunk bed with him in a studio apartment. And his parents? After what I'd told them and the lies he tried feeding them before, they weren't interested in bailing him out either. Too many lies, too many burned bridges. I don't wish homelessness on anyone. But in Josh's case, well, when you treat everyone like a stepping stone, eventually there's no one left to stand on. He made his bed, or I guess, his back seat, and now he had to lie in it. I thought that would be the last of it. But nope. Plot twist incoming. Last week, I was having lunch with my sister Rachel. We were at this little Mexican place we love, just casually catching up, when she started acting twitchy. She kept checking her phone, stirring her drink like it had secrets, giving me that nervous big sister energy I'd seen maybe twice in my life. What's going on? I asked finally. She bit her lip and said the 4 words that make anyone's stomach drop. Please don't be mad. I put my fork down. What did you do? She sighed. Josh reached out to me. I blinked. He what? Apparently, in his grand campaign to twist the narrative, Josh had been reaching out to anyone who might still have an ounce of sympathy for him, and that included Rachel. He'd fed her a full-on sob story about how I'd kicked him out with nowhere to go, and claimed we'd had some kind of verbal agreement about the house. According to him, we were basically married. We weren't. And he said he'd contributed significantly to the household. He hadn't. But wait, it gets worse. He asked her for money. Not like, hey, can I borrow $40 for gas? No. Josh was looking for enough to get back on his feet and fight for what's rightfully mine. That's how he phrased it. And Rachel gave it to him. I froze. I felt like someone had just unplugged my brain. You what? She immediately started defending herself. Look, I know, it sounds bad. But he showed me these screenshots of bills with both your names, and photos of groceries he said he paid for. Rachel, I cut in. He probably pulled receipts from stuff I bought and then screenshotted his Venmo screen like he sent me something. She went quiet. Did you check any of it? Actually verify anything? Her silence told me everything. To be clear, Rachel isn't naive. She's smart, organized, and usually the most skeptical person in the room. But Josh knew exactly what to say. He played the wounded puppy, the wronged ex, the man just trying to rebuild. I sat back and let out a breath through my nose. I wasn't mad at her. I was mad that he still knew how to manipulate people, even now, with nothing to offer but a dented car and a trail of lies. Okay, I said, calm as I could. How much did he take? 2,000, she said quietly. I know. I'm sorry. It stung, not because of the money, but because it proved Josh was still out there, telling stories. Still trying to drag me down to build himself up. I didn't yell. I didn't guilt her. But I did say this. Don't send him anything else. If he asks, tell him I've got screenshots too, just not the kind he wants going public. I'll admit it, I was ready to go nuclear when Rachel said she gave Josh money. $2,000. I nearly dropped my mug right there in the cafe. I stared at her, just trying to comprehend how she, of all people, had fallen for the same nonsense I'd been stuck in for 6 years. But then, she pulled out her phone. Before you freak out, she said, handing it over. Just read. There it was. Their full-text conversation. And with every scroll, my blood pressure started to settle. Rachel didn't just Venmo him money and wish him luck. No. She'd made him sign a proper IOU. Like, legal wording and everything. Repayment terms. Interest rate. Due dates. She even got him to agree, in writing, to put his car up as collateral. I stared at her. Why would you go through all that if you didn't trust him? She shrugged and took a sip of coffee. Because I don't trust him. But I wanted proof. If he tried to come back around playing victim again, I wanted hard evidence that he's just another guy trying to scam his way into petty cash. And honestly, I wanted to see how desperate he was. I could have hugged her. Seriously. That's the smartest move anyone in this mess had made, and it wasn't even mine. But, oh, it gets better. That same night, my friend Zoe texted me with screenshots. Apparently, Josh had started spinning a whole new version of the story online. Multiple, actually. To some people, he was the devastated ex who got manipulated by a gold digger. To others, he was the kind-hearted boyfriend who sacrificed everything for my success. And to a select few? He was calling me a business partner who stole his share of a joint real estate investment. I nearly snorted out my tea. This man once told me escrow sounded like a seafood dish. He even told someone I promised to add his name to the deed as a birthday gift and then cruelly changed my mind. As if that wasn't the most laughable Hallmark hallucination ever created by a man who once forgot my birthday entirely because he was streaming with the boys. And just when I thought we'd reached peak delusion, I started getting texts from him again. A string of them. Long, emotional, and unhinged. You can't just erase 6 years of love. I have stories I could tell too. You think people won't believe me? Wait till they hear about your secrets. My secrets? I didn't reply. Not once. But I saved everything. Screenshots. Voice notes. Even the one where he said, "You'll regret treating me like I don't matter, I'm gonna expose what really happened." Expose what, exactly? That I bought groceries while you built a vision board? Be my guest. I figured that was the end of it. Until last Sunday. I was at Trader Joe's, minding my own business and trying to decide between oat milk and almond milk, when someone grabbed the side of my cart. I turned, and there she was. Josh's mom. She looked different. Not angry, not sad. Just worn out. Like someone who'd been dealing with a lot and hadn't had coffee yet. "Can we talk?" she asked. At first, I hesitated. But there was something in her voice, tired, low, almost scared, that made me say yes. We walked to the cafe across the lot, ordered drinks, and sat in awkward silence for a while before she finally spoke. "I need to tell you what Josh has been doing," she said. "Because it's gone too far." Turns out, after running out of Rachel's money, and probably gas money for his car bed, Josh showed up at his parents' place unannounced, wearing a hoodie and carrying a shoebox of random crap. Said he needed a place to regroup. She let him in. His dad wasn't thrilled. But the next day? He sat them both down and said he was getting the house back. "Getting it back?" I asked. She nodded. He said he had evidence. I sipped my coffee. "What kind of evidence?" She sighed. "A printed out Venmo history and some blurry photos of Amazon boxes at your door." I choked. Apparently, Josh told them he was gathering proof that we were in a domestic partnership and that he'd contributed financially and emotionally and deserved residency reinstatement. Residency reinstatement. This man was trying to evict himself back in. Josh's mom looked down at her cup like it was holding the strength to keep her from snapping. "He said you tricked him into putting the bills in your name," she finally said, shaking her head. I blinked. "Wait, what?" "He said it wasn't fair," she continued. "That he gave you cash for the down payment, and now you're pretending he never contributed." I actually had to laugh. "Cash? What cash? The $60 he Venmo'd me in 2019 for groceries?" She gave a long, tired sigh. I told him, "Josh, I was there when she bought the house. You hadn't even moved in yet." But he just kept talking over me. Apparently, Josh's new angle was that he'd been coerced into letting me take full ownership. That it had been my plan all along to isolate him financially. According to him, I had preyed on his trusting nature and maneuvered him out of what was rightfully his. When his parents refused to give him money to help fix this injustice, he lost it. He stood in their living room and told them they'd never supported his dreams, that they'd always taken other people's sides, even some woman who stole from me. I didn't even say anything, his mom told me quietly. I just let him rant until he ran out of steam. She looked up at me. "That's not the boy I raised." "I don't know who that is." I nodded. "Yeah. Me neither." But then she said something that froze me in place. "There's more." She went on to tell me things I had never heard before, things Josh had been saying to his family behind my back for months, maybe even years. Like how he'd told his younger sister, 19, still in community college, that he'd bought me out of the house. Claimed he owned it now and needed money to renovate his property. She gave him her savings. Every cent. Then there was the lie he told one cousin, that he and I had secretly eloped in Vegas, but I refused to go public because I wasn't ready to share him with the world. He told another relative that I'd offered him full ownership of the house if he helped remodel it. He called it sweat equity. His words, not mine. The cherry on top? He told his grandmother, sweet, 80-year-old Nana who knits scarves for shelter dogs, that I was holding his gaming equipment hostage. You know. The gaming setup I donated to charity 2 months ago. I just sat there, jaw basically on the table. How is he not exhausted from lying this much? "Oh, we're not done yet," his mom said, and pulled out her phone. She opened an app, scrolled a little, then turned the screen toward me. It was a GoFundMe page. Help a local man reclaim his home from a manipulative ex. I swear, I almost spit coffee across the table. There it was. A long, dramatic post full of fabricated nonsense. Claims that he'd invested his entire life savings into our home. That I'd manipulated the deed through legal loopholes. That I'd emotionally isolated him and erased his financial contributions. He even posted pictures of my house. Not just the front door. Not just the street. Interior shots. Ones he must have taken months ago, without me knowing. One showed my bedroom from a weird angle. Another had the kitchen with a caption, this is where I cooked for us every night. He once burnt frozen chicken nuggets because he was watching YouTube videos about time travel. I stared at the page in disbelief. It had raised $143. Someone named CryptoKing45 left a comment, "Stay strong, bro, women always pull this stuff." I scrolled in stunned silence. The way he weaponized pity, the language, the manipulation, it was terrifying. He wasn't just lying. He was campaigning. "This can't be legal," I muttered. His mom nodded. "It's not. And we've already reported it. Multiple times." Then she looked at me, eyes full of regret. "I wish we'd known earlier. I would have never imagined he'd turn into this." I didn't say anything right away. I didn't know what to say. Because honestly, neither would I. He said he did the renovations himself, his mom told me, still scrolling through her phone like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. I raised an eyebrow. "What renovations? Rearranging the couch while avoiding job applications?" She gave a tired laugh. "Exactly. But here's what floored me, people were actually donating to that GoFundMe. Not thousands, but enough." He'd pulled in around $800 before she stepped in and reported the page. It was just enough to give him false hope. Enough to convince him that his twisted little PR campaign was working. "I had to do something," she said. "He needs to face reality." And that's when she told me something that almost made me spill my coffee, again. Josh has been sleeping in his car. In their driveway. Refusing to come inside unless they agreed to support his mission. Every morning, he'd leave at 9 a.m. sharp, wearing some thrifted blazer and carrying a laptop bag like he was off to a real job, and every evening he'd return with a new story. A lawyer who promised to review the deed. A meeting with a property rights expert. Someone he'd met at a gas station who knew a guy who'd lost a house and won it back. Total delusion, his mom said flatly. But the breaking point came when she overheard a phone call, Josh, pacing around the side yard, trying to convince someone to be a character witness. It was Tara. He was trying to get Tara to say the house had always felt like his. Tara, apparently, laughed in his face and hung up. That's when his mom kicked him out of the driveway, too. "I'm not telling you this so you'll feel bad for him," she said. "I'm telling you because I want you to be prepared. He's not going to stop. Not until there's no one left to lie to." Then she surprised me. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, old-school photo album. You know, the kind with the clear plastic sleeves and handwritten notes next to each picture. Inside were photos from the last 5 or 6 years. Holidays. Birthdays. Random weekends at the lake. Every single one of them showed Josh glued to a screen. Phone in hand. Laptop on lap. At the 4th of July barbecue while everyone else was playing cornhole. At Thanksgiving dinner while the family passed stuffing. On the porch during his niece's birthday, typing furiously on what he claimed was the pitch deck that's gonna change everything. He also wants to use all these photos as proof of his ability to work hard, his perseverance, and his success, which you used for your own purposes, his mother continued. "I should have seen it sooner," she said, flipping the pages slowly. How he used people. How he always had an angle. She paused, touched one of the photos where he was sitting alone at a family reunion, watching a YouTube video while his cousins played with sparklers. "I enabled him for too long," she whispered. "And I'm sorry. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't need to. Because I knew exactly how that felt. Just when I thought Josh was finally gone from my life, my driveway, my inbox, Josh tried one more thing. He filed a claim in small claims court." Yes. Court. I got the notice in the mail on a Thursday. Plain envelope. No warning. Just a stamped document saying I was being sued for improper removal of a domestic cohabitant and that Josh was seeking compensation for his half of the property. I stared at the paper for a solid 5 minutes. I actually laughed. A dry, stunned laugh. But not because it was funny, because I knew he meant it. Knew he truly believed he deserved half of a house he never paid a single cent toward. And apparently, he was prepared to fight. His evidence was creative. He submitted dozens of photos, of the living room, the kitchen, even the backyard, all of which featured him. On the couch, on his laptop, on the phone, in pajamas. The photos looked more like a sad influencer's Instagram than legal evidence. But Josh claimed it proved he had been actively contributing to the household and developing business ventures from home for 6 years. He even said I had benefited from his work ethic. I forwarded the entire packet to my lawyer, who simply replied, "We've got this." Josh tried to drag our mutual friends into it too. He sent them messages asking them to testify that he'd always talked about future plans with me, that he'd worked late and cooked sometimes. No one agreed. Not a single friend. Not one acquaintance. Not even his mom. When the court date arrived, I walked in with a folder the size of a college textbook. I had copies of every utility bill in my name. The deed to the house. Property taxes I paid alone. Grocery receipts. Car maintenance bills. Appliance warranties. Screenshots of every threatening text he ever sent. Including the ones that said, "That house is mine whether you like it or not. You think you're gonna keep me out? Good luck. Watch me get everything back." I sat there, calm, quiet, sipping water from a plastic cup, while Josh walked in wearing a wrinkled blazer and nervously clutching a manila folder. He looked defeated already. Still, he stood up and told the judge I had tricked him, that I'd used his trust against him, that I robbed him of a future we were building together. Then he handed over the same printed photos from GoFundMe, the ones where he sat on the porch, typing on a laptop, looking like a guy trying to get free Wi-Fi at Starbucks. The judge didn't say much at first. Just flipped through his documents, then turned to mine. Then came the questions. "Are you on the deed, Mr. Wilson?" "No, but..." "Did you make any direct mortgage payments?" "Well, not directly, but..." "Any bank statements? Transfers? Checks?" "Not exactly." When it was my turn, I didn't say much. Just handed over my binder. The judge looked through it for a full 10 minutes. At one point, he stopped and actually raised an eyebrow at one of Josh's screenshots, the one where he said I'd regret ever crossing him. "Miss Carter," the judge finally said, "based on this evidence, it is clear Mr. Wilson has no legal claim to your property." Josh flinched. Furthermore, the court sees no financial contribution, documented agreement, or shared ownership of any kind. Then he added, "Mr. Wilson is to vacate and cease any efforts to reclaim this property, and shall have no further contact with the defendant regarding ownership. A no-contact provision regarding the residence is approved." Josh not only lost. He's legally forbidden from coming near my home again. I walked out of that courtroom lighter than I'd felt in years. No more emails. No more stalking messages. No more plans to get his life together at my expense. I went home that day, made myself a grilled cheese, curled up on the couch, the same one he once wanted to replace with something sleeker, and exhaled. For real this time. In the evening, his mother called me. I was surprised that she wanted to see me this time. But I didn't refuse to meet her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry, I didn't want this to happen. I still can't believe that he's my son," and she lowered her head. "It's okay," I quickly replied. "I should have understood this sooner and made a decision." She looked down at her hands, then back up at me. Her voice steadier now. "But for now," she said, "I have to do what I should have done a long time ago." She told me she and her husband had finally made a decision. A real one. Not just hoping he'd change or lecturing him when he came around begging for a second chance. They were changing the locks. Disabling his phone access to their Wi-Fi. No more sleeping in the driveway. No more pretending this was temporary. No more enabling his delusions about tech startups, stolen property, or his tragic misunderstood genius arc. They'd arranged for him to go live with an uncle in another state, someone who'd offered him a job. A real job. Not online. Not vision work. Not another fake business with a logo and no product. Manual labor. Entry level. Early mornings, actual deadlines. Real-world consequences. It's up to him now, she said. Either he takes the offer and builds something for himself, or he figures it out alone. But we're done watching him destroy other people's lives because he refuses to build his own. She stood up. We were both quiet. Then she hugged me. For a long second. Not quick, not polite, a real, full hug. Then she leaned in close and whispered something I'll never forget. Thank you, for showing him that actions have consequences. I just wish he'd learn from them. I watched her walk back to her car, her shoulders straighter than they'd been an hour ago. And I just stood there, holding the album in my hands, feeling. I don't know. Not triumphant. Not vindicated. Just tired. And weirdly, sad. Sad for who he could have been. Josh was never supposed to be this. He had charm, once. Creativity, maybe. A way of pulling people in with big dreams and dramatic monologues about chasing success on his own terms. But somewhere along the way, he stopped trying to be better. He just got better at blaming. And for a long time, I let that drag me down. Let it define me. Let it twist how I saw myself, what I deserved, how much I was worth. But not anymore. Now, I have peace. No texts. No guilt. No man-child gaming in the living room while I work double shifts. I still have bills, still have a job, still have a small house that creaks when it's cold and needs a new faucet in the kitchen. But it's mine. And there's no Josh on the couch waiting for dinner. No lies on the internet. No wild schemes coming out of the garage. Just me. Free.